So let's take a look at once you've deployed simple configuration, like a IIS application pool and a site, how can you manage the configuration after that? Well, let's think about what configuration management means. At first, what we want to do is ensure a consistent state of configuration across all of the servers. This is what we'll do using the server roles in a moment. By taking the same role, we can apply it to all of the different servers very, very easily. What we also want to be able to do is to detect unplanned changes in a server's configuration. For example, if I were to go and change the server's configuration, it would show up in Otter because Otter would detect that the desired state of configuration that you entered on a plan wasn't nearly what it ought to have been based on the server. And lastly, the other important aspect of configuration management is the ability to manage planned changes to a server's configuration. So for example, if we need to start changing settings in an application pool, we can do that in a controlled manner using Otter. So let's jump back to Otter and see what that's like. So as we know, we already have this role that we've applied to one server. Now we can start applying this role to all of the servers in our infrastructure. Saving that, what Otter is going to now do is go and check the configuration across all of the different servers. And we can now start seeing that these servers some of them are running through and starting to begin their configuration check. And what Otter's doing behind the scenes now, it's saying configuration has drifted. So this means that on our int server, the configuration there is not what was expected. We know that because we can just log right into this int server and see that in IIS, there is no application pools created. That means we need to automatically create it. So to do that, what we can do is remediate it with the job. In this case, I will go back to the role itself, and I can now choose which servers I want to remediate. At first, I want to do a remediation on my integration server. I'll just do this immediately and say, let's start this and automatically fix this server and ensure that it has the appropriate roles as needed. What I can also do is go back to that role. This will now automatically execute. Now when I go back to the role, I'd also like to deploy this configuration to my production servers. So in order to do that, I'm going to select production as an environment. And of course, those two prod servers are in the prod environment. And all I need to do is set a time that's just a couple minutes from now. But in any case, we can set a time at any point in the future to deploy this. So for example, if we wanted to deploy this during off hours, we would have no problem doing that. Now, what's also nice is that when you deploy configuration, you can also simulate a configuration job. Now, for something as simple as an IIS application pool and a website, that doesn't make a lot of sense to do. But imagine you start having some really complicated configuration plans that have lots and lots of branching logic in it. That's where you're going to really, really want to make sure that that branching logic is followed and the changes that you want to make are actually made. So I didn't schedule this for the future, but had I picked a future date, we could schedule this for any time as needed. So right now, when we look at our servers, what we'll see is that all servers are marked with the current configuration. So let's take a look at the one server. I'm only logging into the on-premise server, our int server here. And if I refresh IIS, we can see that Otter, through the Inedo agent, created the accounts app pool. And we also have the account site. Both of these were created when that configuration job ran. If I go and change the configuration of this, for example, let's say I log into the server to think that I want to fix a problem. Maybe it's as simple as changing the pipeline like that. Otter will automatically detect that change as it does a routine configuration run. 2 minutes ago, the configuration was current. Now, Otter will run about every hour to check the configuration. Of course, that's configurable. or you can just manually check configuration of servers. Once that configuration check is finished, Otter is going to detect that the configuration drifted from our expected state. And that's exactly what we expect to happen because we changed the role on the server. Let's go take a look at the state of the execution. Seems like it's running just a little bit slow here, but it will very quickly note that the configuration is different and gives us a state of drifted. To remediate drift, we have a couple options. What we can do is we could immediately remediate this with a job, and anytime there's a configuration change, that's certainly an option. As I mentioned, we can schedule it for the future or do it any time. But we can also configure Otter to have the servers automatically remediate drift once it's detected. Now, this is the sort of thing that you'd probably want to do on lower servers like integration and testing. And once we set that, Otter will again do its configuration run. It will check the status of the server. And instead of just reporting on the drift, it will actually go and fix the broken configuration. You'll see configuration is current as of 3:37. If I go back to the server, it says here pipeline mode is managed. If I just hit refresh, it set it right back to classic. That's this whole idea of how automatic remediation works. Let's say that we actually want to have this configuration be something that we plan to change and have a planned configuration change. It's very easy to do that as well. In this case, all we really have to do is go and edit our configuration plan like this and edit our settings here. I'm going to change the pipeline mode on this to integrated, save it, and then ask Otter to do another configuration check. Once this configuration check is complete, Otter will go through and manage and change only the servers that are configured to automatically remediate drift. The servers that are report only, you'll have the opportunity to deploy changes on. So when we go and look at our servers now that the check is complete, you'll see we've got current, and this is because Otter automatically changed the configuration of this server, and the rest of the ones are drifted. Of course, we can fix that by going and deploying these configuration changes server by server, or we can do it automatically or just fix the plan. There's a lot of options that you have when managing the different configuration. In this case, what I'll do is I'm just going to go and do a remediate and remediate all servers across the board, which in this case will hit test and production servers in addition to integration as well. And you can see Otter's just running through and doing all of the configuration and setup of those servers.